Full time at Goodison Park, and it's finished 0-0 between Everton and Liverpool in the Merseyside Derby. A very frustrating afternoon for the Reds. Welcome along, everyone, to the Debrief Live on the Blood Red channel with myself, Patrick Smith. And I'm delighted to now be joined by Matt Addison to go through all the major talking points from that one. So, Matt, what's your first reaction to that one?
Yeah, it's a familiar pattern, really. It's frustrating. I think Liverpool had chances, and I think a lot of people would look to Jordan Pickford for, making some exceptional saves, you've got to say, but it just hasn't quite clicked, has it, yet for Liverpool, really, in attack. I thought Roberto Firmino coming on at half-time made a difference. Certainly the first few minutes, they looked, a lot more fluid and fluent and seemed to get a little bit more out of Darwin Nunez, but it just didn't quite happen for Liverpool. I think there was, a couple of moments where they get lucky, not least the goal really is not, it's not far offside, is it? It wouldn't have taken much really for Liverpool to have lost that game. I think probably a draw is a fair result, but they just don't seem to be in control. They don't seem to be the usual selves, and it will come with time. But I think it's, we're going to see this a little bit over the next few weeks until Darwin Nunez gets used to his teammates and his teammates get used to him and how Liverpool are playing now. They're going to have a few of these frustrating results, and yeah, that's the thing, really. It's not the first time. It's not going to be the last time that they get unstuck a little bit in terms of their attacking play. And yeah, like I said, you've got to say Everton deserved to get a point really out of that. Yeah,
I mean, a point each probably is the fair result. But as you said, Matt, it's the same old story once again that we've seen this season. Why aren't we scoring goals this year? Like, why is it happening? I mean, Pickford had a brilliant game today, to be fair to him. But we're really struggling to score this season, aren't we? Do you know why?
I think it is just getting used to that kind of change, really. I think, obviously, you've got a new player in there, and it's a completely new way of playing, really, for Liverpool. I think, we've kind of seen it with Manchester City as well, obviously moved towards Erling Haaland and as kind of number 9 type system. They seem to have got used to it a lot quicker than what Liverpool have. I know the red card and the suspension hasn't helped things, but even before that, it's just not quite clicked for them. I thought, to be honest, we kind of looked like Liverpool kind of went back to what they were doing when Roberto Firmino wasn't in the team, where it was kind of Diaz and Salah very wide and very isolated, not much in the middle. Even when Firmino has played at times, at certain points, it's not quite clicked. But the one thing you'd say about the Bournemouth match and then against Newcastle as well, to be fair, Liverpool just looked a lot more kind of together, and there was loads of link-up plays and those kind of things. But it just went back to what it was again today, and it just didn't quite happen for them. So I don't really know what the solution is, but I think that's certainly the problem. Obviously, the solution comes in either time, which is no good really for Liverpool in terms of a title race. They don't really have time to do that. It's got to work now, and it's got to work quickly, and they've got to improve. But I suppose the only other way is that you take Darwin Nunez out and go with Firmino in future. But again, at some point, you are going to have to make that transition. And having spent so much money on him, I think you are going to have to just persevere with him. So, yeah, I think it's a difficult one, really. I think probably the way forward, not least actually with the lack of midfield options, is probably to have the two of them in conjunction with each other. I think they looked okay as a two with Salah and Diaz either side. Again, very, very attacking and sort of a 4-2-3-1 shift and that kind of thing. But yeah, I suppose that probably in the immediate term is the way forwards, but Liverpool have to find that balance. They've got difficult matches to come. They've got much better teams than Everton to come, and I suppose that, as much as anything, is the frustration, is that they've kind of made Everton look a lot better than what they are, really.
Yeah, I mean, Firmino came under fire at the start of the season, perhaps unfairly now in hindsight. It looked a lot more cohesive, didn't it, the front three when Firmino was playing in there. I mean, Nunez today, he's back from his ban. How do you think he played today? Wasn't the greatest day for Darwin, was it?
No, he really struggled, and I think it like I say, it's something we're going to have to get used to watching, I think, over the next few matches. I think in terms of the overall performance, it's not actually that much different to Haaland at Manchester City. I think he's obviously scored, so many goals and taken those final touches, but it is getting used to that kind of, you might get one or two chances in a game and you've got to take them. You might not touch the ball a great deal else other than those moments, but that's what counts, isn't it? I think if he hadn't have been scoring for Manchester City, I think the kind of narrative around him would be similar to Nunez. The problem is really he's had a couple of chances today and does well with the one where he kind of chests it down and has a go, and I think Jordan Pickford makes a save, possibly touches it onto the crossbar. I think that was a good moment, but before that he'd had the header that he should have done a lot better with. ultimately that's it, isn't it? You either score the goals or you don't. And I think, to be honest, we've seen that with Roberto Firmino so far this season. I thought Firmino was exceptional against Bournemouth and did really well in that match. I don't think he was actually that great against Newcastle, but obviously Liverpool win and he scores the goals. So the kind of narrative is, well, he scored, so he must have been good. I don't think that's necessarily the case. It's kind of the opposite with Darwin Nunez. He's just a couple of goals away from people suddenly saying he's ignited and he's suddenly doing what Liverpool want from him. But at the moment, it's just not quite happening. He's not scoring goals and he's not offering a great deal else. So I think, when you put those two things together, I don't think that's necessarily a good thing.
Yeah, unfortunately for Bobby, he found a very informed Jordan Pickford today. Could have had a couple, especially the one late at the end when I don't know how Pickford saved that, to be honest. But there was a goal that was scored, Matt, Connor Cody's. Interesting celebrations from him, the former Liverpool player, and then it was ruled out for offside. What do you make of that one?
Yeah, it was a tight one, wasn't it? I think Liverpool got a bit lucky. I think there was a couple of counter-attacks. I think that was the end, really, of two or three of those moments where a Liverpool corner was more dangerous for Liverpool than it was for Everton. It was really, really strange. I mean, it was... just the lack of control, really, I think, was summed up in those few minutes where Everton kind of got themselves on top. Liverpool didn't really have much in midfield. James Milner suddenly starts to look his age at right back. I thought he was really, really poor today and moves into midfield and is obviously much more comfortable, but it doesn't help the fact that he's just not very fast, is he, in a game like that where you're expecting him and Joe Gomez basically to defend against the entire Everton counter-attack while everyone else is up for a corner. It's not going to end well. So, yeah, I think Liverpool got away with it. He was offside. I mean, it wasn't by much. On another day, if the connection with the ball is just, a split second earlier, he's onside and Liverpool have lost the game. So, like I say, I think they got away with it a little bit there. But, with this Liverpool team, it kind of sums it up, doesn't it? We shouldn't be talking about Liverpool kind of getting away with a moment against a team like Everton. They should have been able to dominate and go there and stamp their authority. And look, Everton played well and got in their faces and all the rest of it. But I just don't think if Liverpool turn up and play like they can do, it wouldn't have even been a contest. And unfortunately, the longer it goes with it being a contest, the more you kind of have to open yourself up to the possibility that a moment like that could happen. And Liverpool got away with it, I think.
And you mentioned there how high up we were attacking pretty much the whole game. And I thought Joe Gomez defending the counter-attack was absolutely brilliant, in fairness to him, Matt. Another good display from him, and he really needs that, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's been absolutely brilliant, hasn't he? I think he did pretty well at right back as well, but certainly at centre-half, he was just getting in the way of everything. He was helping Liverpool in terms of sort of making sure that he swept up and getting in behind. I think he helped Trent out a good number of times with that ball over the top and just did really, really well. I think it's a tough one because, I mean, to be honest, I probably would have gone with Matip today, and I think there are still, as well as Gomez played and as well as his distribution was, I think Liverpool maybe could have done with the kind of dribble out from the back that Matip does just to kind of break the lines really and just give them something new. But at the same time, you don't want to take anything away from Gomez because, like you say, he was exceptional, was probably the better out of the two centre halves, I'd say, in terms of their overall performance. And I suppose it's been a decent start to the season for him, hasn't it? The fact that he's even on the pitch regularly is a big positive, but I think he's certainly deserving of his place. It'll be interesting to kind of see how the rotation happens in the next few weeks because, like I say, I think as well as he did, I probably would have still gone with Matip today. And we've seen Matip come off the bench. And by that point, the game is a little bit of chaotic. And it didn't quite work for them. But I think Gomez certainly individually was certainly one of the standouts.
Well, Matt, I'm going to now move on to your favourite topic to talk about, the midfield, because we've got another midfield injury, seemingly with Carvalho. I mean, we'll hopefully find out the extent of it in Jurgen Klopp's press conference, which will be coming on the Blood Red channel shortly. But it's not a good sign, Matt, is it?
No, I mean, it looked like it was a dead leg. Hopefully it's nothing more than that. But it was interesting, wasn't it? The strategy to go with him and Elliott in that midfield and go really attacking. And I think part of it was a strategy and part of it was just that apart from James Milner, there wasn't really any other options. I think it would have been, a big call to bring Arthur straight into the team and go for him from the start. Obviously, doesn't even come off the bench at the end after getting the international clearance. So, it was, it was an all right half, I think, from the three of them in the midfield. Again, it's just something different, isn't it? It's going to take a little bit of time, really, for that to happen. But, another option down, isn't it? I wonder whether Firmino may have come on anyway at half-time for him, just because it wasn't quite working for Liverpool and they needed a little bit of something different and something else. And Firmino's been in decent form recently, but yeah, it looked okay. I think there were benefits to playing those three in the centre of the pitch. I think you kind of see the idea really is to go for that kind of Man City option of having those 5 attackers and the fullbacks and flooding forward and trying to score the goals and use those players to create. But at the same time, there was a couple of Everton counter-attacks, which I think if you've got Henderson in there or you've got someone like Thiago to control the midfield in there, probably Liverpool are maybe less creative overall, but they keep the ball and are creative just by the fact that they always have the ball and they don't give Everton the opportunity to come and counter. So yeah, I think probably the control didn't particularly help with the injuries that Liverpool have. Hopefully it's not one that goes on for too long though, because again, he's been a standout really. I think Gomez is one standout from the start of the season. Harvey Elliott is one, but Fabio Carvalho certainly is one as well. So yeah, it's been a good week for him. It was an all right half for him, and hopefully it's nothing major, and it was kind of more a precaution than anything else, because yeah, like you say, there's not really many midfield options. He may well be needed there again.
Yeah, exactly that. Don't quote me on this, but I think it's one where he's got a bit of a knock from a dead leg and they're going to make a tactical change anyway. We don't know if that's true or not, but it looks like that's the case to me. But speaking of injuries, Matt, we had Diogo Jota, somewhat surprisingly, making a swift return from injury and featuring today. Nice to see him back, isn't it?
Yeah, good to see him back. I think he's only been in 1 or 2 training sessions and looked a little bit lacking in match sharpness, I would say. I think there was a couple of moments where he just didn't quite get himself into the right position, but that'll come. It's one of those really where I think he's more of a guarantee, isn't it? I think the sort of struggles really with Darwin Nunez at the start of the season probably haven't been helped by the fact that Jota's been out. I think probably Liverpool would have eased Nunez back into action after the summer if they could have done, but they just didn't have the opportunity to do that. Obviously, the injuries, Diogo Jota being out was a difficult one, but yeah, hopefully he's one that can kind of come in now and have a sustained period of games. He does tend to get these injuries at certain times, but hopefully that's kind of his for this season and he can stay fit now, because I think that, like I say, it would benefit really Darwin Nunez to have somebody else there, whether it's Firmino, whether it's Jota, even if they're not on the pitch at the same time, really, just to give Liverpool something a bit different, give them an option off the bench, give them the option to kind of rotate. And if it's not working, it doesn't matter. There's not that pressure that it's only one player there and they have to deliver. So, yeah, a positive to see him back. I'm sure he'll be much sharper and much better in the coming weeks. But I suppose it was a good few minutes, really, to get him back onto the pitch. I wouldn't say it was an ease back into action type thing, but it was certainly one of those where the minutes will do him no harm. Yeah,
definitely sink or swim. It's one of the few positives we can take from today, because it was a frustrating day for Liverpool. It's been a frustrating start to the season, probably a fair result with the draw today, though. And now we've got the small matter of a trip to Naples and the start of the Champions League in midweek. So that's one to look forward to. Matt, Addison, thank you for joining me very much. And thank you to all of you for watching and listening along as well. We'll be back up shortly with Jurgen Klopp's press conference on the Blood Red channel. So make sure you keep your eyes peeled across there for that. But for myself, Patrick Smith and Matt Addison, it's bye for now.